More than 2 weeks after Milton hit, we're still seeing freshwater flooding in parts of Florida's west coast. Many residents living near rivers, creeks, and holding ponds were caught by surprise because their neighborhoods do not have a recent history of flooding. The 17 inches of rain that fell over parts of the Bay Area have caused rivers such as the Hillsborough, Withlacoochee, Anclote, and Alafaya to peak at record or near record levels, causing damage to many homes for the first time. One weather expert told National Geographic magazine that FEMA's flood maps are out of date. Many homes that should be labeled as high flood risks are not. And along with her colleagues at the Tampa Bay Times, Rebecca Liebson has been covering the plight of homeowners who were caught off guard. Rebecca, welcome to Florida this week.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. You visited some areas that were where residents were caught by surprise by the flooding. Tell us what you reported on.
Yeah, so there were various parts of the Tampa Bay area. I'm thinking neighborhoods in St. Petersburg, like Kenwood, and then up in Lutz, where people were out of these so-called flood risk zones or even out of evacuation zones. And so they assumed they would be safe from flooding, but then ultimately they saw multiple feet of water and saw their homes and vehicles damaged.
And what did the residents tell you? I mean, they were caught by surprise. What did they say to you?
Yeah, I mean, some of these people chose these neighborhoods to live in because they assumed they would be safe. There wasn't a history of flooding, as you said, and they were out of an evacuation zone. You would think nothing was going to happen there. But I think what we're learning is truly there's nowhere in the state of Florida that isn't at some risk of flooding, especially during an event like a hurricane.
Yeah, I was surprised to see places like Lakeland and Polk County, too, have surprise flooding. So what does that say about the FEMA maps that we have that tell us where flooding might be expected?
Right. So that quote you mentioned from National Geographic, there is some skepticism that these maps are out of date, although they're required to be updated somewhat regularly. I mean, the pace that our climate is changing and the increasing intensity of these storms is making it difficult for forecasters to keep up. I mean, even a place where you are basing off the estimates looks safe. You don't know what the next storm will really bring.
I wonder when FEMA is going to update those maps. I mean, when you said earlier that there's no place in Florida that's safe, that's frightening.
Yeah, I mean, of course, if you're living on the coast or living in a low-lying area, you assume you're going to be at some risk. But I mean, the way that insurance companies quantify these things, there are flood risk zones, which is considered the highest risk, but technically everyone is in a flood zone of some sort. So everyone faces some risk of flooding, just some places are considered riskier than others. But I mean, I've been speaking with insurance professionals who are saying really at this point, everyone in Florida should have flood insurance just because how frequent and intense these storms are getting, yet the vast majority of people do not have flood insurance. And so when these things happen, they're not protected at all. They end up having to pay out of cost for flooding.
Yeah, I bet they were surprised. I mean, what do people do if they have no flood insurance?
Yeah, I mean, if you have no flood insurance, so technically how it was explained to me is flood insurance covers any sort of damage from the ground up, so water getting in through your house from the ground. But in most cases, if you don't have that specialized flood insurance, it really is up to you. And a lot of people just simply cannot cover these costs. Many of them will be forced to sell because the cost is just too high, even with their normal home insurance. That's not going to cover the flooding.
Rebecca, for many years, Florida was the Wild West for developers. That is, that they could fill in wetlands and really not get any fines or anything, build too close to water and streams and rivers. So what does it say? I mean, can we pull back from those kind of practices, filling in wetlands and all that? Did that contribute to the problem?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to need to pull back. Like you said, these wetlands and things like mangroves, these are natural These are natural protectors against flooding. That's where the water goes to help drain. And like, if you have people building houses on top of that, whereas before maybe those areas would flood and it didn't really matter because there was no one there. When you're having people building there, now all of a sudden there's a problem because someone's house has 3 feet of water in it. On top of that, I think we just have outdated infrastructure in some cases. And when you're loading up an already outdated system with even more homes, it's going to cause problems.
And that's an argument for upgrading our storm sewer system. I mean, I think some of these floods would overwhelm a storm sewer system, but some, if we updated the storm sewer system, that might help in some areas.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a case to be made for that. The thing is, to update these systems would take a ton of political will and a ton of capital. So it is an uphill battle for sure. But I think governments need to take action now to prevent further issues down the line. I mean, what could be an expensive problem now could be even more catastrophic in the future. So it is an investment in a safer future.
Well, Rebecca Liebson, thanks for your reporting. I always enjoy reading your stuff, so thanks for coming on Florida This Week.
Thank you again.
As we said, you can apply for FEMA help in person. Here's how you can find the FEMA office closest to you.